And I think it's very difficult to deny that. You read the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, they're trying to make it sound like this recession is going to be gradually going away and things are going to get better, and that's not the case. I would encourage everybody to read what happened between 1929 and 1934 in the United States. And union membership in the AFL was down to a pittance of what it was before 1929 and 1934. The AFL wasn't responding to the needs that was coming out of the Depression, and the CIO was formed, one of the greatest labor movements in the history of the world up to that time. And what we see taking place now in the United States, especially around public workers, is there's over $100 billion shortfall in the states last year. There's over $100 billion shortfall this year. They're projecting there to be a $100 billion shortfall next year. On and on. And as the cycle gets worse, as the depression deepens, people are going to be forced to do things that they would never consider at the present moment. They're still thinking that maybe they'll get the 72 weeks of unemployment benefits that they're negotiating in Congress now. Whether that does or does not take place, we are in a depression, and the employers are going to push too hard. And when they push too hard, at some point the working class is going to respond. And that's when things are going to get interesting. I think it's important to watch what's going on in Greece right now. They went to the working class and they said, this is what we need you to do because we want to save the euro and Greece's membership in the European community. The next day there was a general strike in Greece. That process is going to continue, and it's going to become worldwide in scope. And the working class in the United States is not isolated from that. And that will have an effect in the United States, and the working class will get their chance to change its society.
Excellent points.
And that's why, just to tie it together, I think that's why Jobs with Justice, meetings like this, our groups that are here today and many that aren't, are so important because we don't know when, probably the U.S. working class will be last to get on that train, but eventually we will. And we've got to be ready for that time. And we've got to, and my mentor, Tony Mazzocchi, president of the Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers Union, talked a lot about how to be ready for that moment. Because, the working class movement can go two different directions. You can respond with the general strike, or you can respond with support for the far right and fascist ideas. And there's a growing tendency and a current in all of our communities for the far right. And that's very seductive and very attractive to angry, bitter people who feel robbed and ripped off by the system. Have a lot of appeal. So we've got to give shape and dimension to the movement when people are at that point where they want to rise up and do something that they never thought of. But let's hope it's go on a general strike and not persecute immigrants and or blame Jews or whatever, right? The movement can go two directions, and we have an obligation to make sure that that movement moves along the lines of our class interests, not on some wacko Rush Limbaugh, all these other nuts out there. It's scary.
Jim?
I agree wholeheartedly with Buddy. I mean, right now, at this point in time, and you just said it, Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, all these, I'm not going to say it.
You have their local equivalent right on talk radio here in town.
They do see what's coming, just like Buddy says. And what they're doing is they're painting union people into a corner, basically. They're painting a labor movement as being a liberal movement, which they've demonized liberalism for last how many years, since Ronald Reagan. So they're prepared for this time. And when this time does come, they're going to bank on that right-wing movement to keep the people from going in the street, because they're going to paint us as the bad guys, which they have through history. So, and I see what Buddy's, I'm out there organizing every day, and people, it isn't bad enough yet, you know? They want to join a union, they want to be part of the union movement, but they don't want to piss that employer off because that employer's having a kind of a tough time. And if I join the union and we organize, we might shove him right over the edge out of business. And I tell them, you know what, if he's that damn, on that much of a balance point, he should be out of business. You know? I mean, if he's that, because you're not going to get anything out of him anyway. So, but, and when you go in and organize these people, you have to know what you're doing. You can't go in half-cocked and try to organize a shop, and you get halfway into this deal and you find out you don't know exactly what the labor laws are. You don't know exactly what position the employer can take and who he can bring in to fight you on it. Because there's organizations out there that for a small fee will come in and they'll bust any union in this country, and they're good at it. Phil Wilson, I'm sure you guys are aware of him. And Phil Wilson, in fact, I joined his email list, and when Martha Coakley won, it wasn't, or lost, it wasn't 5 minutes after that, he comes out with an email, a blast email, "Goodbye, Employee Free Choice Act." You know, I mean, these people,
He got it.
we're actually a minority. We got very little money compared to what these people have, but we do have the numbers. And that's what it's going to take to mobilize people, get people active again. Because in our union, I mean, we have union meetings, and we got 500 membership. We get 60 guys show up for a union meeting, you know.
60 out of 500.
And that's good, yeah. But I mean, that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
Anybody want to ask how we get such good attendance?
But I mean, that is not right. Everybody, I mean, this is our livelihood. This is, you know, you should take it a little more serious. But we haven't in the last 10 years, so. And I'm
really good.
I'm off my soapbox now.
The question for those of you that are out there doing organizing every day, since the markets really broke down at the end of 2008, it sounds like it's harder to get people to join a union, but are you noticing that people are more open to the ideas of working class consciousness? Are they not as focused now on their individual consumerism? Are they getting more of a broader understanding? And also, are you hearing any more talk about forming a working class political party? I mean, we had the effort to form a labor party that would actually represent working people's interests, unlike the Republicans and the Democrats. Are you hearing that discussion again or not yet?
Good question.
It's a real good question. I feel like, you know, it's like a big elephant, and you can touch a piece of it over here, and it feels like a working class revolt, but then you touch a piece of it over here, and it's people who are timid and satisfied and running scared and ignoring what I think is glaring realities. So I do hear, you know, it's funny, when the Democrats get in, there seems to be, and then they disappoint us. Shocking, you know.
Not.
Not. Then I do, you hear a pickup in Labor Party interest. And I'm one of the founding members of the Labor Party with Tony and with the OCAW and a couple of other unions that spearheaded that effort in the 1990s, I guess. And we did well with Clinton. We did well with Clinton, especially in the first term. Because the Democrats were so disappointing. And now I see the uptick again in interest in that, and you know, Working Families Party, Labor Party, whatever you want to call it. There is a pickup in the interest, at least among the, you know, my friends in the labor movement locally. Whether that translates into, you know, a broader support, I don't know. I'll tell you this: it doesn't help when at the national level the labor movement is being defined as a middle-class movement, and we've got to save the middle class. I think that's shooting yourself in the head as a labor movement, because you're confusing people about their class interests. And if we don't talk and recognize that